Well, I thank you all again for joining us. And today we're going to cover a lot of questions that our guests have submitted. We have some new information, also some exciting news about newer services, including a brand new service. The Middletown Transit is offering transportation to COVID vaccination appointments. I know a lot of people are interested in hearing about that as well. And you know, it's just a good time to learn about these services, take advantage of this resource, and know what your options are. And this is an invitation to everyone to use these resources. So if you're ready, let's see what's on the presentation for us today.
Hello and welcome to our talk, Know How to Go in Clinton. I must say that you chose wisely to live in an area that cares about their community and knows how to keep it connected. You have one of the best transits, in my opinion, in Connecticut. Joe Comerford is the executive director, and Margaret worked together so well at listening and looking at the gaps and barriers and creating new programs and pilot programs. Anything that's out there, they want to try it. And so you have so many ways that you're going to learn about, maybe you didn't know, how to keep connected. And it may be in more than one way. It may be multimodal. So for some people, it could be starting their house out with on a bicycle. And then they could switch to a bus, and then maybe they carpool. So there's more than one ways with the quilt work of transportation that we're going to talk about. As I said earlier, my name is Lori McElwee, and I'm the South Central Regional Mobility Manager for the state of Connecticut. My job was made possible by the Council of Governments and the transit agencies who saw the need for my position and Mary's position and our travel trainers to be able to work with people and to get out in the community. So many times we hear, I didn't even know that this existed, or that you existed, or this program existed. And so I have job security, and I'm needed because people need to know that they're not always going to be able to drive. When I'm at expos or at senior centers, they're like, oh, no, thank you, I already drive. But unfortunately, in our lives, we're not always going to be able to drive. In my case, I had a knee replacement a couple months ago, and my doctor made it clear that for a couple of weeks, I would not be able to drive. So you really do have to make a plan A, B, and C ahead of time. So my grant was able to be taken care of through a nonprofit called the Kennedy Center. So while the Department of Connecticut pays for my salary, it's held under the nonprofit, the Kennedy Center. And the Kennedy Center is a nonprofit which empowers people with disabilities to reach their full potential through their many programs, including transportation. Because early on, the Kennedy Center saw transportation as a missing link to individual success in employment, schooling, living in their community, and more importantly, what we're dealing with now, getting to health appointments. So right now I'm working on a talk about baby boomers for Transit Equity Day, February 2nd. And in my research, the 2020 census states that the baby boomers are at 73 million and growing exponentially. By 2030, all baby boomers will be 65 and older, and transportation will need to be a part of that equation. So you're here at a good time. If you don't need it, we know that our jobs are made so much better by word of mouth. So sometimes you help a family or a neighbor or other loved ones in your circle. My region is the South Central area. Okay, wasn't expecting that. I live in Groton, Connecticut, and I was the Eastern Connecticut Regional Mobility Manager, and the Kennedy Center reached out to see if I would be interested in trying a new region, and I was. So while I know an awful lot about Eastern Connecticut and what keeps it connected, I'm learning so much more in South Central Connecticut. So as you can see, my region starts at Old Lyme and Lyme all the way up to Middletown and Portland, and then goes down through the coastal area, all the way through the Havens up until Woodbridge and all the surrounding regions. So I'm able to help build partnerships in communities to pay attention, like Joe and Margaret do, to pay attention to the gaps and barriers that exist. So while you can always look online for things, sometimes your regional mobility manager may know some secrets or some well-hidden jewels that you may not have even considered. So there's my name, there's my title, and there's my phone number. You can do a screenshot or just take down the information. We'll repeat it again at the end, and all of our information will be on the last slide. So I have a travel poll on my screen. Does everybody have that? Do that, okay.
Lori, apologies. I may have initiated the poll by accident, but feel free to close that poll box and we'll revisit that at the end.
Good.
Sorry about that.
Okay, that's okay. So we're going to talk today about why use transportation, the ways that you can partner with transportation, and the way they partner with other organizations in your community. And I love this bus because you can see in the front, they have a bike rack to make different ways possible. Why take a bus? The first reason I can think of, and I may go out of order here, but I get a bill in the mail for insurance. I have to replace my tires. I have to get out and scrape my windows in the wintertime. It's a big expense. The bus runs on a fixed route and time, and it's affordable. They require no advance reservations. Transfers are given for trips that require more than one bus. All public buses have bicycle racks, and service animals are allowed on buses and trains. It's the first place I like to start with people, whether they've ever used a bus or not. It's still the most affordable, dependable mode of transportation. Okay, buses have mobility device accessibility, and trains as well. All buses and trains can accommodate mobility devices. The buses reserve the front seats for seniors and people with disabilities. I always love when I see on Facebook when a person in the community will get up on a crowded bus and let a senior or an individual living with a disability to have their seat. But it doesn't always happen. So the transit takes care of that, and they actually have space reserved. And trains have reserved seating for people utilizing mobility devices. And I'm going to pass this over to Margaret Gomez, and she can introduce herself further and talk to you about what's happening on the buses now.
Well, thank you very much. Okay, so once again, my name is Margaret Gomez. I am the operations manager at the Estuary Transit District, which you can also call Nine-Town Transit. So everything you'll see will say Nine-Town Transit. But if you hear Estuary Transit District, it means the same thing. So the first thing I know people will be concerned about with COVID and everything that's going on, what do we do on our buses? How do we protect people? So we make sure that the buses are cleaned on a daily basis. All the touch points are touched. We're making sure everything is clean. We're making sure if it's used for that day, it's going to be clean at the end of the night. Before it goes out in the morning, we're making sure that we're disinfecting We also have hand sanitizers on every bus as well. So as riders get on, they can utilize that for their trips. Because, you know, it's really important that people are washing their hands. And when you don't have soap and water, hand sanitizer is the next best thing. Um, to keep everyone safe, we have a posted and we require that face mask is worn, if not for yourself, but for everyone else. Let's, you know, keep everyone safe. Let's make sure we're wearing those face coverings, face masks. Um, as you can see in the picture of the bus with the seats, we have social distancing markers. So we just ask that if you're going to use our buses, sit in a seat that does not have a marker. That helps the social distancing be possible. And as always, we always appreciate when riders follow those posted signs because, like I said, our goal is to keep you safe and keep you healthy. So, what is Ninetown Transit? What do we have to offer? It's a deviated fixed route service. We have services that run Monday through Saturday, and we're not um, open on Sundays. But Monday through Saturday, we have transportation, whether it's going to the mall, whether it's going to the supermarket. So with most of our services, we will travel within 3/4 mile off the route if it's requested. By requesting it, you just get on the bus and tell the driver, I'm going to so and so. And the driver, as long as it's within the 3/4 mile, the driver will drop you off. If you want to be picked up at a off route, all you do is call the office, which you will see the number at the end of the slide. You call the dispatch office and say, I need a pickup at the YMCA, and we will pick you up at the Y, whether you're going to Old Saybrook or going to Madison. From the slide, you can see our fares are fairly inexpensive. A one-way fare is $175. For the off route, that would be our dollar rides or ADA services, which we will talk about later on in the slide. That is a $350 ride each way. Senior disabled with the proper ID is 85 cents each way. And then we also have the senior off route. Once again, we will talk about our dollar ride service, which is provided by a special donation that we get for 175 as a suggested donation. So that gives you the benefit of instead of paying 350, you'll be paying 175 as a donation. But like I said, it's a donation and you can give whatever you want. We just suggest 175. Seniors residing in all 12 towns, they just have to register. They have to just pre-register for the senior fare discount. Okay. So let's talk about the first route that we have. And I put up one of our pamphlets, which we have at senior centers at the Y. You can call and we can mail one to you. You can stop by in the office. We can give you one. So we try to update these as this most updated one is listed for September 1st of 2019. If there's any change that comes up, we may have to update again, but right now that's where we are. This brochure gives you.
Oh, sorry. I also like that your brochure comes in Spanish as well.
It does. Yes, it does. It's multilingual. So everything I'm giving you on this presentation, you will find in this brochure, you will find on our website. So as I was saying, so we have the bus 641. Whenever you take this bus, it will say 641. It is traveling between Old Saybrook and Madison Gazebo. So it starts at the Old Saybrook train station and goes all the way into Madison Gazebo with the stops in between from you. What you can see, we go to Stop and Shop in Old Saybrook, we go to Clinton, Stop and Shop, we go to ShopRite in Clinton. So anything along that route would be considered our 641 route. Now, the next bus that would be something that we utilize for the public is the Old Saybrook Chester route. This is, if you look at the bus, it would say 642 and it would list Old Saybrook Chester. So it also starts at the Old Saybrook bus station. And as you can see, it goes through Essex, it goes through Deep River, and it goes to Chester. One thing I didn't mention about the fares, we do have a lot of, because of COVID, we have a lot of technology-based apps and technology-based ways of paying your fare. What we're utilizing for our regular route buses, like the one I just mentioned, 641, 642, and 643, we have what's called Token Transit. If you download this app, you can pay for your tickets on the phone, and your pass actually is like a mirror of your phone. So if you buy this pass, you don't need any tickets, you don't need anything other than your phone. So anybody with a smartphone, this is a very easy way of buying and using passes. You don't need a transfer for this. Every time you use your Token Transit app, it shows that it's being utilized. And it tells you how much tickets you have left. It tells you when it expires, and it tells you when you need to renew. So I think it's a beautiful app that we're using now. The other app we have is the Passio app. Passio, the beauty of Passio Go is it tells you where the buses are at all times. So if you're trying to figure out, am I going to be able to catch this bus? You can see exactly where it is and the direction it's heading. So Passio Go is the other app that we're utilizing for giving services and showing you where we are at all times. So let's go back to our schedule. So the next bus that we can talk about is the Old Saybrook, New London. So this is on the bus, it would say 643. This bus also starts at the Old Saybrook bus station. And as you can see, it goes through Old Lyme, it goes through East Lyme, and then arrives at the New London train station. So anything along that route, and all these buses can connect at one point or the other, but we will talk about the connections later on in the slide as well. But this bus will take you from Old Saybrook all the way to New London. And that you can connect with going to New Haven. You can go to, moving on. Next bus we're going to look, yes.
I just wanted to mention also, you're sharing so much wonderful and valuable information. I know our folks at home might be taking notes. If they miss anything or if they need a recap, I just want to remind folks that we will be sharing a video of this presentation. And I'll also recap with some links to your website so they can spend more time looking at these maps. And I don't know, maybe we can even get some of those wonderful brochures here for the library, and so people can stop by and pick them up.
We'll be more than happy to drop some off to you.
Wonderful, thank you.
Of course. So if you need me to slow down, just let me slow down, because unfortunately I speak a lot really fast, but I'm really working on slowing down right now. So if you need to stop me anytime, please feel free to do so. So where we are right now, we are looking at the Old Saybrook Middletown bus, which would on the bus would say 644. As you can see, this bus as well starts in the Old Saybrook bus station, and it goes all the way to Middletown. It goes through Essex, Deep River, Chester, and it goes to the college. It goes to the medical centers out there, and it goes through, let's see, and it goes through the East Haddam town offices, which is not town offices anymore. I think it's named something differently now, but it does go into those areas. And it goes to the Middletown terminal. The one thing about our bus is because we have to respect other districts, we may bring you to Middletown, but we don't pick up in different spots in Middletown other than the terminal. So if you're in Middletown, if you're not at the station, we can't stop along the route in Middletown to pick you up. You would have to utilize a Middletown bus. But like I said, we are all connected one way or the other. So where we stop, Middletown continues. The other bus that goes to Middletown is our Madison to Middletown bus, which you would see as the 645 bus. And that one goes through Route 81. And almost like the 644, with a little deviation, it goes from Madison to Clinton, from Clinton to Killingworth, Haddam, and then, like I said, it goes to the college. It goes through the college. It goes through the hospitals in Middletown as well, and it goes to the terminal. So the last stop would be the terminal for the 645. So as I was saying, so all the services we have, all the bus routes I've just mentioned, they all connect with each other, and several of them connect to CT Transit, to the East, to the SEAT bus, so the East southeast area, the Middletown area. In Middletown, they connect to the Greater Hartford, which goes into Hartford, the Greater New Haven, Eastern Transportation. So as you can see, I can list everything. There's a connection everywhere for the services. So the bus is not just I get on the bus and I'm done. It's the bus, I can get on the train, I can get on a different bus going to New Haven, I can get on another bus going to Hartford. So you have quite a bit of options. And for the fare with the transfers, you're really paying practically nothing to travel. And it's safe, it's secure, and it'll get you to where you need to go safe in a timely manner. One of the connections that we make in Middletown, so I'm sorry, in Madison. So you remember I explained that the 641 bus goes into the Madison gazebo. At the Madison gazebo, they connect with the Route 201 that goes into New Haven. So if you want to connect going to New Haven, you would use that 641 Old Saybrook Madison bus. Now I know I saw a couple of questions about what services do we have that we can book a ride from home to maybe the supermarket, maybe to visit a friend, maybe to go to the beach. We have what's called the Dollar Ride service. This service you actually have to register for, but once you register, I'm sorry, excuse me. Once you register,
You're on mute, Margaret.
yeah, I apologize about that. Joe was trying to connect with us, so I apologize.
Oh,
Joe's trying to get on with us right now. So as I was saying about the Dollar Ride service, so you call in, you can actually do it on your phone as well. So you can do it on the computer. You can register for our services. You don't have to call us to do it, but you can. So when you call in, you give us the information, your name, your phone number, your address. Depending if you're over 60, we'll probably ask you some medical questions, but medical questions will not stop you from getting the service. It's just so we can provide that for the grant for the grant that we get to give you a better price for that Dollar Ride service. So with the Dollar Ride, as you can see, we service Chester, Clinton, Deep River, Durham, Essex, all the way to Westbrook. Those trips are limited to some parts of Middletown and Colchester. So we don't go past Middletown, and we don't go into New London. We don't go into Madison. But like I said, for the different locations we go to, we provide a variety of options. So with Dollar Ride, you do have to register and book your trip either 2 weeks in advance or up until 1 day in advance. So if you have a trip tomorrow, you call me before 4 o'clock. As long as I have the availability, then your trip will be all set. Subscriptions, we usually utilize for work, school, or medical purposes. But like I said, if you need subscription based on our availability, that can be possible as well. Because some people have programs that they need to go to 3 or 4 days a week, and we do our best to accommodate as many trips as we can. The Dollar Ride service, the difference between Dollar Ride and our route service is Monday to Saturday, but Dollar Ride is only Monday to Friday. Saturday is limited service. There's only several buses out there. So let's say the 641, you can travel on Saturdays. The 642, you can travel on Saturdays. And that's about the only buses that you can use on Saturday. But that's, once again, that's Old Saybrook, that's Madison, that's Chester. So there's a variety of options. And we are looking at other options for Saturday service. So it's not just because that's all we're offering right now does not mean that that's the only thing we'll be offering in the future. So just keep looking out on our website. Any changes, we'll definitely list it there. So with Dollar Ride service, it is a $350 ride. There's are times when somebody needs a trip the same day. As long as it's available, we do provide same day service, but there's a $7 charge each way. And once again, as I was saying about the senior, because of our special grant program, our AAA program, we do give you a discounted price of $175 as a suggested donation. Now, I know a lot of people say, hey, I see that you don't work on you don't work on Sundays. What do I do if I need to get somewhere? Well, if you can't get somewhere on Sundays, we have what's called the taxi voucher program. The taxi voucher program is offered to people with disabilities and seniors 60 or older. What this voucher program does is it charges you half of the fare and we cover the other half. So it's matched 100%. You put $100 to that taxi voucher, we provide an extra $100. So if you start in Clinton, Chester, or in any of those towns, we can through Clinton Transportation, which is the taxi service we use, you can travel anywhere. You can travel almost anywhere in Connecticut. We just ask that, you give them a day's notice, and many of their vehicles are accessible, but that's based on request. So if you need accessible transportation, you just let them know you need the accessibility and they're okay with that. There is service outside, so it's not just for inside the service area, it is also outside the service area. So if you're trying to go from, let's say, Old Saybrook to Manchester, although it's out of our service area, they are able to provide that trip for you. If you have any more questions about the taxi voucher program, there is a link online and it tells you exactly what you need to do to sign up for that. And it's a very short application. Now, this is one of the things that people love about what we provide, the trolley service. So the Clinton trolley, it's exactly what it sounds like. It's a trolley. So we take it out in the summer. We can start at Clinton Corson Mall. And this year we went all the way to the beach. So we went all the way to the marinas. There's no charge for this service. As long as you're, practicing social distancing, wearing a mask, you can travel from the end of June all the way to Labor Day weekend. And like I said, there's no charge. And unfortunately, our bell doesn't work, but we're working on that. We love the sound of the bell and having people see it. So the trolley service is something that we offer during the summers. And we can also rent out the trolley for special occasions, but that's something that you would have to call to find out what you would like to do with that. So that's one of the other services that we provide. The one thing that I know I didn't include in the slide was our extra mile service. Extra mile, unfortunately, is not in Clinton right now, but you don't know what the future will hold. Right now, the extra mile service is a on-demand service, which means if you call me right now and say, I need a trip from Old Saybrook to Westbrook Mall, I can provide that for you within the next 5-10 minutes. Like I said, but it's only good for Old Saybrook, Westbrook, and some of Centerbrook. So it's a little bit of it's a small area that we're using it because it's a pilot program, but it is something that we didn't include in the slide, but it's definitely something you may be interested in if you're in the Old Saybrook area and you're just trying to get around. It's a free service right now, and it's all you're doing is either calling to book a trip, or you could actually go on your phone and set up Transloc, which is the service that we use. And Transloc, you book your own trip. So you know what time is coming, you know how long you're going to wait, you know what time you're going to get where you're going. So that was the extra mile service. As Sarah was saying at the beginning of the presentation, we do provide through Curtin Transportation, the same people that does the taxi voucher program, we do provide complimentary COVID testing and vaccine transportation. It's a free service. They go through drive-through sites. They will, for the vaccine, they will take you, they will wait for you, and they will bring you back. It's Monday to Friday. They just need 1 day advance notice. Absolutely have to wear a mask. And as you can see, you can take up to 3 companions with you, including a personal care attendant, meaning someone who's there for to support you throughout that trip. And all these trips are free of charge. It's through Curtin Transportation. And like I said, if you book a trip Monday through Friday, as you can see, 9 to 1:30, 1 day in advance, you can get your COVID testing, you can get vaccine transportation.
I did see a segment on this last night on Channel 3, Margaret.
Really?
It made me proud. Ninetown Transit is in the news often.
And so that's my part of it. If there's any questions at the end, I'm more than happy to answer them.
Thank you.
Let's see. Thank you so much, Margaret. That's a lot of wonderful information. We do have some great questions from our panelists. I think we'll circle back to them at the end of the program. So if you didn't hear your answer yet, hold tight and we'll circle back around to those.
Thank you. It's really great to know what exists not only in your own community, but in the surrounding communities, because as Margaret just stated, a lot of times the transit districts have to work together. So they may be able to get you there, but not get you back, or they may be able to help you with another program that they can partner with together. You may have a relative that lives in another district, so you're able to help them that way as well. Just tell people to have a transportation folder. So when I'm out and about and I'm giving out business cards or picking up brochures, I have everything in one place, which is my transportation folder, and I'll always know where it is. It can also be applications, anything to do with transportation. So many times I have people calling me saying, my neighbor was at an event you were at and they gave me your card and I really need your help. And then from there, it'll go to a neighbor, and just, it's how it works. But as you can see, all the prices aren't always the same across the different districts. So it's just good to do a little research or call us, because we can help you with that information. Again, with CT Transit in New Haven, you can see the prices may vary, as well as the connections and the towns that they work with. And again, the multimodal piece of maybe taking a bus part way and a train the other. And when we're talking about fares, you may see the different prices from a regular fare as to seniors with people with a disability. I heard Margaret mention that as well. And a program that we can help people sign for is the Transit Reduced Fare Photo ID program. So when I go to food giveaways or senior centers, I help people fill out a reduced fare application. And the great thing about having one of us from the Kennedy Center is that we not only can help you find it online, but we can help you fill these forms out. And sometimes you need to prove that you're either a senior or an individual living with a disability. You'd have to have that marked off through a social worker or a notary, or a doctor even, but we are allowed to sign off stating that you have that one of these. And so once you do this, you'll pay a $5 one-time payment. And when you do all this information and mail it in, you'll receive this senior fare card or the disabled reduced fare. So you can get for a lifetime half price on a bus or fare. You just need to show them your card. A lot of times people might show a Medicare card or whatever. Personally, I would tell a family member or a friend not to be flashing your Medicaid or Medicare cards around. You keep that safe in your billfold. If you just have this senior fare card and you never use it, just show either on the bus or train. And it really helps an awful lot of people with the expense of transportation when they're taking it several times a day. And these forms also come in Spanish as well. Next, I'd like to introduce my coworker, Mary Rosenbauer, who knows the most about ADA paratransit as anyone I've ever met. So I think you'll get a lot out of her talk today. Mary? And you're on mute.
I'm getting very careless. I did that twice today. So the question I said was, who knows everything about the transportation options that are available? I bet if you're anything like me, your head's spinning. There's a lot. Ninetown Transit in particular has a lot. As an agency, they jump on everything and anything. They don't care that the administrative load is a little bit more difficult. They go for it. Great for you, hard for Lori, because she has to keep up to date on everything. And there's just a lot. And I think that I want to make sure that everybody knows that at the end of this presentation, the final slide is contact information. And of course, you're not expected to remember all of this. So you have Lori, who's a mobility manager. You have the number of Middletown Transit with lots of experts there who can help you. And they are so kind and so helpful. And if you want to call about ADA Paratransit, feel free to call me. My number is there too. I was a little bit sneaky and I read a couple of the questions. One of the questions, which I just loved because I think it's so basic to what we're talking about, is how do you read a map? Like, how do you get familiar with how to learn all this stuff? And so I'm going to say to Sarah, if you'd like to have us back, Sarah, we can do sort of a nuts and bolts of transportation. Learning how to download the apps, learning how to read a map, like just really, again, the nuts and bolts stuff, because this is all great to hear, but when the pedal hits the metal, or, you have to know how to access it. So whenever you're ready, Sarah, give me a buzz. I'll get a travel trainer together. We'll put something together. Lori, obviously, if Margaret wants to come, I'd love to have you. And we'll do something really very, really targeted. How's that?
Sounds awesome. Thanks, Mary.
You're welcome. Yeah, because again, I'm too nosy. I have to keep reading questions.
A good question.
It was an amazing question. And all of a sudden I went, bing, perfect. So ADA Paratransit, what is it? And what does this mean to you guys in Clinton? Well, ADA Paratransit is transportation mandated by the Americans with Disabilities Act for folks who cannot access, and you've heard this term used a lot, the fixed route bus, because they have a disability that prevents them from using the bus. Age is not a factor in paratransit. It really is whether or not, now Lori spoke about having a knee replacement. She would have been eligible for paratransit because at that time, she had an injury that made it difficult or near impossible to use a regular fixed route bus. So paratransit is not offered everywhere. Paratransit is offered where the regular fixed route bus exists. It's on the same days and goes on the same times. A distinction that Middletown Transit has is that they run what's called a deviated fixed route system, right? And so they go off the route. They are a flag down system. They do anything and everything that they can do to make using the bus in the areas that it travels convenient and easy. The 641 is that Shoreline bus that goes from Old Saybrook, from the train station, to the Madison gazebo. I've ridden this bus many times. It's a beautiful ride. It has fixed stops. So it is, because it is a fixed route bus, it is a paratransit route. So what does that mean? That means that the service, you can get door-to-door service on this particular bus route. If you are 3/4 of a mile, like a bubble around the bus route, if you are 3/4 of a mile of that public bus route, you are eligible for door-to-door service. Like the dial-a-ride prices, the fare is $3.50 each way. There is no discount for ADA Paratransit. There is an application and an eligibility process. Now for dial-a-ride, you sign up. For ADA Paratransit, it is a little bit more extensive because again, age isn't a factor for a paratransit. Paratransit is provided for folks who cannot use the bus. And so there is an eligibility process. In fact, can you use the bus? Maybe you can. Maybe you don't think you can, but you might be able to. Buses are really accessible. Paratransit buses are accessible. They're door to door. There's a lift at each bus. Now, I think Middletown has, most of their buses have lifts, but not every bus on the rest of the fleets throughout the state have lifts. That all paratransit buses do, but the large fixed route buses have ramps. They don't all have lifts. Service is provided again during the hours and days that the public bus operates, and the rides must be reserved at least 1 day in advance. And it is not dependent on availability. If you call for a paratransit bus route a day in advance, that ride will be provided because it's mandated by the ADA, by the law, by the federal government. You can go to the next one. So how do you do it? How do you get ADA paratransit? So it's easy. You have to fill out an application. Now, or before COVID, everybody walked around with this 13-page application, 3 pages dedicated to explaining what paratransit is, 2 pages dedicated to telling you what transit districts exist in the state of Connecticut, because it is a statewide application. And then the middle of it, the meat of it, was the application. It's 80 questions. Because of COVID, we're not getting those applications out to people and handing them like we used to. We're not handing out anything to anybody. However, there is a website, and it is ctada.com. And you'll see that little box up there. That's my number. And we made this nice and big. You can call me at my office at the Kennedy Center at the 203-365-8522 number. Have to do 2061 and you're not going to get me. There's that on the website. My number exists. If you call me, I'm happy to do this application with you and for you. So in other words, you don't need a 13-page application. You need me. If you don't have a computer and you have a telephone, I'm there for you. I can, if I have time, I'll do it right then and there. If I don't, I'll make an appointment. I do at least 5 a month. I love to do them. There are some, I don't want to say personal questions. I'm not asking you for your social security number, but I am asking you the nature of your disability. And if somebody's uncomfortable sharing that, I understand that. So far, Connecticutans are the most outgoing, wonderful share. I say, are you sure? They're like, oh, of course, we'd love to tell you. So it's been really a wonderful experience, because when I submit that 80-page application and I tell people about it as we're going along, when I click submit, it goes straight to the transit district. So we've just saved 2 weeks of time. We've just saved getting it to the mail, doing this. It's wonderful. And again, I also know if you're not eligible. So when you're talking to me, if I'm listening to what you're saying to me, and I think to myself, this probably isn't going to work, or you live in an area that isn't serviced by paratransit, I right then and there refer you to a mobility manager. I'll call Lori, I'll call April, I'll call Meg. We have mobility managers around the state, and I can connect a person right then, right there. So there isn't this huge gap. Somebody waiting to find out, am I eligible? I can tell them right then. I think we're going, yeah, if anybody has any other questions about paratransit, remember, it's a shared ride. It is for folks who don't have, they aren't able to use the city bus. It is origin to destination. Fares are $3.50, which is double the price of a fixed route, full price fare. And I think that's about it for that. We're going to go on to the next slide. Now, we've talked about buses. We've kind of skirted around trains. And I think that in Clinton and certainly on the shoreline where you are, train travel is really so accessible. And I don't know how many people in the audience have a lot of experience riding trains, but I can tell you there's nothing more relaxing and wonderful than riding the train. So there is a stop right in Clinton. You can see from this, this diagram, which I'm really fond of, you have the Shoreline East. We're going to talk a little bit about those. In fact, I'm going to break it down, but you can see that being on the shore is a wonderful place to be because you have access to a lot of the services. First one, of course, I just mentioned the Shoreline East. So that's the state of Connecticut owned rail service. And it connects with Metro North. It connects with local bus service in New London, Old Saybrook, Madison, and New Haven. Again, there are reduced fares for seniors and people with disabilities. And I can't give you again, I don't know all the fares. I can tell you that I was surprised that it wasn't more because I'm a senior. So again, I don't want to speak out of school. I may have been horrified if I was younger, but I found the rides fairly affordable. You can go to the next slide, Lori. Thank you. Of course, Metro North goes into New York City, and you can connect to go to, there's a Waterbury line, there's a Danbury line. You can go up to Hartford. Again, it connects to Shoreline East. Again, there's reduced fares for seniors and people with disabilities. For all you folks who are younger, I'm sorry, it's a little pricey for you. And again, fares do vary upon where you're coming and going to. And Amtrak, wait a minute, go back to thank you. Amtrak is pretty amazing in that it goes up and down the Northeast Corridor. So I was in New Haven, and you see the Amtrak train going to Boston. It's a nice ride taking the train to Boston. Going down to DC or going down to Maryland. I know, I have this memory in my head of being little and taking the Amtrak train to Maryland where my family lived with my mom. I know that, again, trains aren't like they used to be. There aren't dining cars, I don't think, but there aren't smoker cars and dining cars like there used to be, but it's still wonderful. Go on to the next slide. Now here's the CT rail line. And this is a fun one because you can grab the CT rail line and go up to Springfield, Mass. And Amtrak goes up to Springfield, Mass. too. It's not the only one, the Hartford line, but listen, it's our train. I'd like to use it. I rode this train it's a beautiful ride. I rode this train to Springfield. I can tell you, if you just want to do something for the day, that's fun. I would take, again, very inexpensive. I think it was $12 to get up. Was it 12 round trip? 12. I don't remember. I'm sorry. That's terrible. I should know that. I should have that committed to memory. But you can go to Springfield. Now, there's COVID. This is happening. I don't think this is going to be happening forever. So when this passes, to take the train to Springfield, get on a shuttle bus and go to the casino for lunch just to see what it's like. There's a new casino in Springfield. Turn around, come back on the train. It's fun. It's pretty. It's a relaxing ride. Last time I rode the train, I was actually on the Shoreline Express, and not the Shoreline Express. I was on the Shoreline Rail, and there was a family, a dad and his 3 kids, and they had these seats facing each other, and they'd gone to the beach, and they were going back to New Haven, and it was fun to hear them talk. It was fun to see them having a conversation because the dad wasn't driving. There was a lovely interaction that I felt really good about the train. So when the opportunity for me to talk about the trains came up, I was excited to do it. I'm a girl who loves a train. And I think if you have the opportunity just to ride it for fun, and there's nothing better than the train when you're commuting, because one of the questions was, how long does it take a bus ride to get from point A to point B? Well, there's about 9,000 variables with that. Traffic, there's so many things that happen with a bus that can get you off schedule. Trains are really reliable. Okay. And so now I'm going to talk briefly about one of the Kennedy Center's programs that really puts us on the map. It makes us very special, and it's called our travel training program. So the Kennedy Center has been travel training folks since 1991. So the Americans with Disabilities Act was passed in 1990. 1 year later, we were out there traveling, folks, travel training people with disabilities throughout the state of Connecticut to get to their destinations using public transportation and one-on-one training. Pretty cool. We've trained over 5,000 people. The training is free. You heard me, free. It is for senior citizens and individuals with disabilities. And we strive to teach people how to independently travel throughout their communities using public transportation. One of the things that you need to do to access this service, obviously, is have access to public transportation. So if you're in a part of the country that doesn't have access to any transportation, I mean, it's more of a difficult call. Where you are in Clinton, you're fine. The training is customized. So, you don't get 3 lessons and you're done. Somebody may need 1 lesson. Somebody may need 6 lessons. That's the beauty of it. And it does really go. We're not saying only to doctor's offices. Wherever the trainee wants to go, that's where we're going to travel train you to. So what do we learn? What are we teaching? Well, obviously we're learning how to travel independently. That's the goal. That's how you graduate. If you can get from point A to point B by yourself safely, then you've achieved the goal. We're learning about community safety. We're learning that, remember, it's one-on-one training. It is free. You learn one route. I think that's important to remember. It's not global. You're not learning how to use the entire system. If somebody says, I would like to get from my house in Clinton to the gazebo in Madison, well, that's where you're going to go. We're not going to then say, okay, where do you want to go next? You learn one route, you learn it well. If you would like to learn to go someplace else, well, then you have to get another referral and go someplace else. And why? Well, because you could be with one person for a year, teaching people to go from one destination to, so we want people to be great on one route, use it, do another one. And of course, if they don't use it, obviously we'll still train them to another one. And really the most important thing when you're taking a bus or a train by yourself is to remember the what ifs, right? So what happens if there's an emergency? What do you do? What if you missed your stop? What do you do? What if you just miss your train? You've gotten to the bus stop and the train's already gone. What do you do? Where do you go? What if somebody's sitting next to you and you don't feel comfortable with them in the time of COVID? What do you do if somebody sits too close to you and the seats are marked off and you don't really know? This is something that we teach in travel training, how to get yourself from one situation to another safely, effectively, right? And one more slide, and then we'll be ready for questions. And again, quick, easy, easy, easy. How do you refer somebody? There's a really simple one-page referral form. People can refer themselves. They can say, you know, I'm in a transition program in this high school, and I really want to learn how to get from my house to GameStop. Refer yourself to travel training. If you're a senior citizen, and I believe the bar is pretty low, it's like 60, which that's really young. That's a young senior. You know, you haven't ever used the bus, and you realize that what I just said really made sense to you. You know, I'd really like to learn how to use that train to get to to get to work. I take the car all the time, but I've never taken the bus, and I'm a little bit, or the train. I'm a little bit nervous. That's why we're here. You schedule an intake, you add intake. Of course, now it's probably all going to be done remotely, but we still are travel training, just so you know. We are travel training. We're doing a little bit more remotely. We're insisting on masks. We're using lots of hand sanitizer. They take your temperature, you see their temperature, so everybody's safe. And that's it. And the last slide is all of us. So you have Lori, she's your resource. She's amazing. You have me. If you're interested in paratransit, call me, and Ninetown Transit. Everybody at Ninetown Transit is friendly and knowledgeable. You're going to find that when you call them, you're going to feel like you're calling a friend, and that's a really cool thing. So that's it.
That's great information, Mary. Thank you so much. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Margaret. And so I don't know about everyone at home. I used my phone to take a quick picture of the screen here so that I'll have this information available, but I will also share this in an email so everyone will have that. And we did address some of these great questions. We're going to take a quick look just to make sure everyone.
Well, I saw a couple of questions. Sarah saw a couple of questions that I can answer
Okay.
right away. I started taking a little bit of notes.
Perfect.
The one thing I want to include when Mary was talking about the paratransit ADA service, the only difference between ADA and the dollar ride is there is no discount for that fare. So the $350 is $350. The dollar ride service is the only one that has that grant program that gives them that $175 suggested donation. So that was the first thing I want, and that's only on the route buses. So they can't use the ADA ID on the route bus for a discount. There is no discount. If they get on the ADA and they're senior, they would still need a senior ID to prove that they are going to pay the 85 cents. The other thing I saw was people want to know how much the fares were. So for the regular 10 ride books, it would be $15.75. For the monthly pass, a regular monthly pass is $59 for the month. And if you're a senior or disabled, it would be $31 for the month. The beautiful thing about the token transit, the first ticket you buy, there is a discount. I don't know if it's like 10%. So if you decide to use token transit, which we, encourage because of the touchless option, you get a discount for buying the ticket right on the token transit app.
It's still 50%.
50%. Okay, perfect. So it's 50%. See, I was close. I saw a question about how long does it take to get from Sabre Point to Liberty Green. So with that, I looked at it. You would be taking 2 buses. You would take the 642 that we talked about, and you would go to the old Sabre bus station, and from there you would take the 641 bus, and that would take you about more or less 35 minutes. And I think those are the questions that I saw right away. If there's any other questions, I'm more than happy to answer.
Thanks, Margaret. That's so helpful. That's good information for these questions. And if somebody else has a similar question to that, either if they would like to find out how much it will cost them to travel from one place to another place, or how long that trip might take, what's the best website for them to start at? What's the best person for them to get in touch with? Or how can they best find that answer? Which one of these resources is going to help them most?
Joy, do you want to answer that, or do you want me to?
Well, I could answer it. So if it's local, then the best place to start is our website.
Okay.
And yeah, really, you would use the others if it's somewhere, if you see that we don't go there or we don't have an easy connection there, then those other resources are there for you to figure out the trips that are outside of our normal area. Also, right when you go to our website, we have a trip planner right there. You could even just type in where you're going in it, and it will tell you exactly the directions on how to get there.
Anybody who uses, like the CT Transit website, most of these websites have trip planners, and they're really great. You put your origin, your destination, and it's going to plan the trip, tell you how long it's going to take, tell you how many, changes you'll have. But if you don't have a computer, or if you don't have a smartphone, call Lori, call me. I mean, we're happy to help. That's one of the services that a mobility manager provides. I mean, not everybody has access to that technology to be able to just type into a trip planner. Great if you do, but if you don't, that's why we're here.
I'm glad you brought that up, Mary, because Ninetown Transit is great at supporting people who are great with technology, and they still keep the basic programs that you don't need technology for. So again, they pay attention to those gaps and barriers. This is another example of that.
Joe, were you on the call when I mentioned that maybe we could do something, a kind of a travel trainers teaching nuts and bolts thing?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I think that'd be great.
Yeah. And also, Joe, wouldn't it be great if maybe somebody from your agency was there that could even help us, like people download the app if they wanted to do that?
We'd be happy to.
Great. Thanks. I thought
we'd be happy to go through the different technology options we have.
Yeah. Because that's
whatever app it is, because we have several different apps for different functions, depending on what you want to do.
Sounds like
Thanks,
a plan.
Joe.
Thank you all. So there are so many options to find the answers to the questions we have today and the questions you might have tomorrow. It sounds like the first place you're going to want to start is, if you're on your computer, go to ninetowntransit.com. If you're not on your computer, or if you just want to talk to someone, give Lori or Mary a call, one of these phone numbers on your screen right now. They're going to help you get where you need to go. And I also want to share too, just because it's very local to our area, an additional option for some folks, the Estuary Council in Old Saybrook does have a medical appointment bus, which is just one more tool in all of this toolbox of transportation resources. And clients who are eligible for this bus, it's for medical appointments. It's for folks who are 50 and older. And there is a fee. So if you are interested in learning more about that, the schedules, this is available to folks who live in Chester, Clinton, Deep River, Essex, Killingworth, Lyme, Old Staybrook, and Westbrook. You can reach out to the Estuary Council of Seniors Their website is ecsenior.org, and their phone number is 860-388-1611. And I'm mentioning that because I am a member on the board. So it's just one more tool that you can use to get where you need to go and learn more about that from them. But we have all of these exciting resources. Someone also was asking about the trolley, I think. We're very excited in Clinton about the trolley. We had a wonderful trip I don't know if it was last year or the year before. We all got on the trolley and we did a little historical tour to one of the old schoolhouses in town. And it was a really fun day, and everyone loved the ride on the trolley with the fun wooden seats and the bell ringing. So this summer, keep an eye out. I think we'll have an updated schedule. So that information will be available sometime in the future, but we'll be sure to share that when it comes out. And you can take this transportation to come here to visit me at the library. Like I mentioned, we're not open to the public at this time, but you can come and pick up your book order. You can come here and we'll get some brochures for public transportation. We have tax forms and booklets and other resources for you. And hopefully sooner rather than later, our doors will be open again and we can have you join us inside.
I see there's one more question.
Yes. Let's see. So many
in the
great
chat about specific. So I would just say, depending on where you are in the 2.5 miles in which direction, you still might be eligible for service. But the best thing to do, and I want to ask you to share an address to the public, you could just give us a call and we'd be happy to figure out if it's us that provides service there or someone else. If it's west of our bus stop, then it might be within a different paratransit provider's service area. So we could help you with that.
Perfect. Yeah, one way or another, these wonderful folks are going to help you find a solution to get you where you need to go. And we're also going to be able to help you figure out how much it's going to cost, what discount programs you might be eligible for. And let me just take a look through to see our questions. Looks like we pretty much covered everything here. If you still have a question, feel free to click the raise hand button or enter it in the chat. And I also want to try something else that could be kind of fun. I'm going to try to launch a poll, and you can let us know where you think you'd like to go. And let's give it a try. If you see a poll on your screen, let us know what you think you would like to use public transportation for. And some of the options we talked about today are going to a medical appointment. You could be traveling for work. You could be traveling for education. Maybe you're sightseeing, maybe you're going to the city, and maybe you're going to get your vaccination for COVID, maybe something else. So you can share that with us too. But some important things to take away today are, if we didn't share the answer to your question today, there are people who can help you get those answers, and public transportation is for everyone. And you're all invited to give it a try. Let's see, we've got some results here on our screen now. It looks like lots of people are interested in shopping. We have some great shopping options here in Clinton. I know there's transportation that goes directly to the outlets. And we have some COVID vaccinations, commute to work, medical appointments, and some sightseeing, lots of sightseeing on my list for the future. Once we all have our vaccines, that will be something to look forward to. Oh, it looks like I can share. Maybe everyone can see now. So I thank you all for tuning in today. And I thank you, Mary, Laurie, Margaret, and also Joe from the Estuary Transit for joining us and sharing this today. If anybody has a last takeaway they want to share or any final questions before we close up the program? We're pretty good. All right. Well,
Thank you for having us.
thank you very much again. Take care. I will be sending out an email follow-up with lots of good information that you'll want to take a look at. So from Henry Carter Whole Library, this is Sarah Borgnes-Tobin, Head of Outreach. Thanks again. I hope to see you soon.
Bye.
Bye-bye, everyone.